Welcome to Istanbul, Turkey. That is the blue mosque behind me there, and in front, Hagia Sophia. I'm back here to travel in a country that I have long wanted to return to. And on this trip, join me as I head east. And in this video, I'm going to be walking around the main sites of Istanbul, sharing my first day back in Turkey. And I look a little bit tired because of an overnight flight leaving the UK at 10 p.m, arriving at 4 a.m. The first thing I want to do before I take you to some interesting places and show you the vibe of one of the world's most exciting cities straddling two continents, let's head into the Hagia Sophia Mosque. It was a museum the last time I was here, but I think it's worth a look in because of the fact it has changed. I'm not going to be visiting too many sites in detail today, mostly walking around, but this is one I want to start with. Shoes in. So I am now inside and I managed to sneak in for free somehow. Just breathtaking as I remember, fascinating to see it now as a mosque. Quieter as you need to keep your voice down. It feels more peaceful than it did when it was a museum. I managed to get in here as a Turkish citizen. I went through the section and I passed about 5 people and no one clocked that I was a foreigner. Or maybe I was just too convincing with my black shirt. And some Turkish people have a little bit of ginger, which I think aided my cause. This is one of the most spectacular buildings in the world. And it's still incredible, whatever state it's in. Museum, church, mosque. This complex building has shifted with the history of this city, which spans across 2 continents. It was first consecrated as a church in 537 in the Byzantine Empire, and then it was converted into a mosque by Mehmet in 1453. Ataturk turned the mosque into a museum to represent his secular view of how Turkey should be, and nowadays it's been turned back into a mosque to reflect the approach of the current government. The state of this mosque represents the politics and the agenda of the time. It is now a place of prayer for Muslims. You can see the direction towards Mecca that way. Leaving Hagia Sophia there behind me and heading down one of the main streets in the older part of the city here, where trams cut through. Let's cross the road. The last time I was in Istanbul, I mostly covered the main areas like the Grand Bazaar, the Galata Tower area, Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque. And I'm going to be walking around those main areas in this first kind of introductory video to Turkey here and Istanbul. But in the coming videos, I would like to cover some lesser visited parts. The Asian side of the city. Istanbul is the only city in the world to straddle 2 continents. And so I'm gonna take the ferry across and show you the atmosphere on the Asian side of Istanbul in Kadıköy. And I'm also going to visit the most conservative part of the city, I think, in another video. More on that to come. And as you may know, the Turkish lira is currently, as of the time of this video, at 70% inflation. And so I want to make a video too on how things are with regards to prices, exchange rates, the cost of things. Is it still affordable? How much do you get for your dollars, your euros, your pounds? And is it worth coming to Turkey this summer with inflation being so high? How is it affecting the Turkish people, the tourist prices? All of that to come on the channel in this series, as well as making my way east. But I do want to visit a few friends. Some of you will remember Betel from my most viewed video on my YouTube channel, Living with a Turkish Family. On my way east, I'm going to swing by Izmir and catch up with her. It is quite hot at the moment in the middle of the afternoon here, and that's why I'm heading around the back end of the Grand Bazaar. So this particular part is the main thoroughfare, and mostly you'll find jewelry and expensive bags, those kind of items. My best advice would be to get lost and head into the maze of labyrinthine streets, the narrow ones. Be prepared to do some bargaining, sit down and drink some tea as well, or Turkish coffee somewhere. Just make sure you bargain hard.
İstanbul'un en elit yerinde oturuyorum. Gazi Osman Paşa. Gül. Bakma. Dükkana bomba koysalar o haber olur.
The origins of the Grand Bazaar go back to 1461, under the time of the Ottomans. Here we are, this looks more like it, getting a little bit narrower, smaller places. You can smell the soap from here. Aleppo. Istanbul, the last stop on the Silk Road from China through Persia and India. Nice little hole in the wall places to grab a coffee or a tea. You can easily spend hours in here. So much history retained within these vast lanes. It's like a shisha coffee tea place. Yeah, one person, please. Okay, thanks.
Special table.
Teşekkür ederim. So the ingenious design of Turkish tea is shaped like this, not only to look nice, but also to retain the heat. That's why it keeps it warmer for longer, with a narrower top and a wider base. And then also in a glass, so you can see the liquid, which is aesthetically pleasing. I'm loving it in here. It's a great choice. The smell of the shisha smoke blowing. outside the Grand Bazaar, again in the bustling streets surrounding it. And I've been recommended this local kebab place full of not tourists but locals, which is always a good sign. So let's take a seat. Hello. Alright, so I'm now sat down here and I have the kebab. They're out of kurkuma, but they have the meat. So that's what I've got here. It looks amazing. You can help yourself to the peppers and the pickles. The bread is so soft and the meat really nicely seasoned. You can also take a bite of pepper here. Someone said to me that this is the only place outside of the Grand Bazaar that they would take a foreigner to try kebab because it's the most authentic and the others are incomparable. (1664), the Ottoman era marketplace. Ataturk. The lokum here, Turkish delight. Now a lot of places in this part of Istanbul are touristy, but some of them are just so worth visiting, and this is one of them. The building is spectacular and it's so colorful. The smell as well of the spices and the baklava. So we are now leaving Eminönü, which has the Grand Bazaar, Hagia Sophia, the Blue Mosque, Topkapi Palace, the home of the Ottoman Empire, and we're heading across the Galata Bridge now towards Karakoy. You can see the Galata Tower sticking up there. Views of the amazing scene and skyline of this unique city. Around the sunset hour here, and the men fishing just as they were 6 years ago when I was last here. Shimit, the bagel-shaped bread, which you'll see all over Turkey. The seagulls especially love it. Something pretty funny just happened. A man with a brush and shoe shining equipment walked past me and he dropped his brush on the floor and then carried on walking. And I picked up his brush and I said, "Excuse me, you dropped this." And I came to him and then he said, "Oh, thank you so much, thank you so much." And then started walking away. And then as he was walking away, he turned around and he came to me and said, "Please, please, I want to do you a favor. You gave me my brush. You're a very kind man. You're a gentleman. Please put your foot here and let me shine for you." And I said, "No, no, it's okay. Thank you, thank you." And then I realized the whole thing was a setup and he deliberately must have dropped his brush so that he could then have an excuse to con me. So it was planned from the very beginning. Similarly to Rome, Constantinople was built on 7 hills, so that is why some parts of the city are incredibly steep, and to reach Galata Tower you have to head up fairly steep cobblestone streets after crossing the bridge. The last time I was in Turkey in 2018, I started my trip in Ankara and then I made my way over to Göreme, Cappadocia. Then from there, I headed to Konya and saw the whirling Dervish, and then down to Antalya on the coast. By the way, there is the Galata Tower there. I think closed at the moment. From Antalya, I made my way up to Denizli, to Pamukkale, from there to Selçuk, where I saw Ephesus, and then to Izmir, finally Istanbul. So I covered a lot of places in Western Turkey and a lot of the main kind of first time visit to Turkey sort of destinations, arguably the more touristy places. Not to say that they're not impressive or worth visiting though. Roasted chestnuts. And now on to Istiklal Caddesi. Probably the most famous shopping street in the city, I would say. And I remember the old trams cutting right through it. Maybe we'll catch one in a few minutes. Famous sweet chain here, Hafiz Mustafa, 1864. Quality baklava here. You got to give it to them. Their marketing is 10 out of 10. Pistachio, it looks like, the green one he was holding up. A very long and busy shopping street coming to its end over here by Taksim Square. Taksim Square? Taksim? Turkish people, let me know in the comments how I pronounce that correctly. 100 years of Turkey and Ataturk's face beneath the Turkish flag. If you made it to the end with me, then good job. I'm just about staying awake after not having a lot of sleep. I need to catch up a little bit before the next video. I don't think this mosque was completed in 2018, or maybe they were doing reconstruction, I can't quite remember. If you have any recommendations of places I should visit in Istanbul that are lesser visited, or in Turkey when I head east, any individual places you think I should not miss out on this trip, then let me know in the comments below. And I will see you on the next video here in Istanbul, where I cover the Asian side in Kadıköy, taking the ferry as well, and also some interesting areas here on the European side, and a video covering the expenses and inflation situation also coming too.